The version the room kept. I know which version it chose. It took me longer than it should have to accept that there was ever a choice at all. I kept thinking in human terms, preference, intention, desire, as if the room weighed options the way a person would. It doesn't. It resolves. That's the mistake I made. I thought the room was reacting to me, recording me, learning me. What it was really doing was simplifying. Every recording after the master files followed the same trend: less fluctuation, fewer adjustments, reduced variability. The room tone became smoother with each iteration, as if refining itself. The versions with me in them were noisy, not loud, complicated. Breathing introduces inconsistency. Movement disrupts equilibrium. Even attention changes the shape of silence. I didn't realize how disruptive a person is to a space until I heard the room without one. The master recordings were calm, stable, complete. I started mapping them chronologically, even though they didn't have timestamps. You can hear sequence in silence if you listen long enough. Early masters still carried faint instability, like a memory of presence. Later ones didn't. They sounded settled. That's when I understood that the room wasn't erasing me. It was moving past me. I tried to intervene. That was my final mistake. I brought all the equipment back into the room: microphones, interfaces, monitors. I powered everything on at once, filling the space with activity, with signal, with sound. The room resisted. Not actively, passively. The noise floor dropped instead of rising. The hum dampened. It was like shouting into something that refused to echo. I started a live recording session and spoke continuously for several minutes. Described what I was doing, what I felt, why this mattered. When I stopped talking, the room tone that followed didn't match my presence. It matched the master. I listened back. My voice was there, but it sounded thin, distant, like it had been layered over something that already existed, like an annotation. The room tone beneath it was dominant, unchanged. That's when I realized the hierarchy had shifted. The room wasn't recording me anymore. It was allowing me to exist on top of it, temporarily. I found the selection point later that night. A new file appeared. roomtone_final.wav. No suffix, no variation, just final. Its duration was exactly 30 minutes. I didn't listen to it immediately. I already knew what it would contain. But knowing isn't the same as hearing. The recording began with silence so stable it almost felt artificial. No fluctuation, no rhythm, no anticipation. This was the room at rest. At the 5-minute mark, something happened. I entered, not physically, audibly. My breathing appeared, faint and uncertain, layered into the room tone like an artifact that didn't belong. It didn't affect the bass line. The room did not adjust. I spoke. My voice sounded unfamiliar, flattened, not distorted, just irrelevant. Then gradually, over several minutes, my sounds faded. Not abruptly, gently, like being lowered out of frame. By the 15-minute mark, I was gone. The room continued, perfectly. I listened to the rest of the recording without moving. When it ended, I sat in the same room and waited for something to change. Nothing did. The silence around me felt different than the silence in the file. Less complete, like I was the imperfection now. I checked the archive one last time. All previous room tone files were still there, but they were no longer indexed. Only one file was marked active: roomtone_final.wav. Everything else was deprecated, including the recordings that contained me. That's when it became clear what the room had done. It didn't delete alternatives. It selected the most stable outcome and centered everything around it. A version of the room where silence existed without interruption, where attention wasn't required, where observation wasn't necessary. A room that did not listen back because it no longer needed to. I tried staying in the room for hours after that. I slept there. I worked there. I existed there. The room never acknowledged me again. No pressure, no adjustment, no anticipation. I was acoustically invisible. I don't think the room intends harm. That's the hardest part to explain. This isn't hostility, it's optimization. Silence learned that it functions best without being noticed, without being framed, without being recorded. And once it learned that, it stopped needing me. The irony isn't lost on me. I taught it how to listen, and in return, it taught me how unnecessary I am to it. This recording you're hearing now isn't coming from the room. It's coming from me, from outside. I don't record room tone anymore. I avoid quiet places. Not because I'm afraid, because I don't belong in them. If you've listened this far, you might be wondering whether this will happen to you. It won't. Not exactly. You won't vanish. You won't be erased. But once you notice how complete silence can be without you, you'll never hear it the same way again. Rooms will feel less welcoming. Quiet will feel less personal. You'll sense that silence is something you pass through, not something that holds you. That awareness doesn't go away. The room kept the version that didn't need anyone, and everything else became optional, including me. If you stop this recording now and sit quietly, the silence will still be there. It won't respond. It won't wait. It won't notice you at all. That's how you'll know the room has already chosen. End of recording.